So you look at the manicured lawns, the six-figure sports cars parked in the driveways.
Oh, yeah, the designer clothes.
Right. The designer clothes on the people walking their, purebred dogs. And you just think, well, there it is. That's wealth.
It feels as obvious as a medical x-ray. You point at the luxury and categorize it.
Exactly. But the notes you share with us today, these excerpts from a text called The Invisible Architecture of True Wealth, they essentially prove that our x-ray machine is completely broken.
Completely shattered.
Yeah. That upscale street isn't a picture of wealth at all. It's just an illusion.
It is an illusion because we're completely wired as a society to equate the visual evidence of heavy spending with actual financial success.
We really are.
We look at a high consumption lifestyle and we just automatically assume a high net worth. But this deep dive into the source material you provided, it's going to pull the curtain back on that cognitive bias.
Okay, let's unpack this because
what we are looking at isn't just a basic financial discussion about budgets or spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
It is a fundamental examination of how we define personal freedom.
Wow.
How we navigate modern anxiety and, the massive, often entirely invisible gap between looking wealthy and actually being wealthy.
Which is just a complete inversion of how we're taught to think. The source material has this fascinating breakdown, a literal table that compares two completely different ways of operating in the world.
Right, the two columns.
Yeah, looking rich.
Right.
Versus what it calls stealth wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference isn't just about what you buy, it's really about where your energy is directed.
The contrast is incredibly stark. If you look at the primary focus of someone who is, operating under the looking rich paradigm, their energy is almost entirely directed toward appearance.
And social proof.
Exactly. They are managing an external narrative. They need the people around them to know they are doing well.
Which sounds exhausting.
Oh, it is. But the primary focus of the stealth wealth practitioner is net worth and personal freedom. And those two goals, social proof versus personal freedom, they actually pull you in entirely opposite directions, financially and psychologically.
You see that exact tug of war in how the text describes cash flow. Mm-hmm. Like the looking rich column describes high income being funneled directly into depreciating assets.
The luxury cars, the massive mortgages.
Right. Seasonal wardrobes. Meanwhile, the stealth wealth column is all about maintaining a high savings and investment rate into appreciating assets.
Yes.
And as I was analyzing these two columns, this vivid image popped into my head. The looking rich lifestyle is essentially, it's like building a Hollywood movie set.
Oh, like the false fronts on a studio backlot?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
You walk down a fake street on Studio Lot, and from the front, the buildings look spectacular.
They look like grand banks.
Grand banks and luxury hotels, yeah. But if you walk behind the facade, there's nothing there. I mean, it's just cheap plywood held up by 2x4s and sandbags.
It could blow over in a strong breeze?
Yes. That's the high consumption lifestyle. It looks amazing to the audience on the street, but behind the scenes, it's held up by the incredibly high stress of a massive monthly burn rate.
Right.
Whereas stealth wealth, on the other hand, it's like a quiet underground brick fortress. You can't see it from the street at all, but it is solid, temperature controlled, and practically indestructible.
What's fascinating here is that the scaffolding holding up that plywood facade is purely psychological.
Oh, totally.
And the text specifically highlights the toll it takes. The daily mindset of the looking rich approach is dominated by these anxiety-inducing loops.
Like, what will people think if I drive this 5-year-old car?
Exactly. Or does this zip code signal that I'm falling behind? You are constantly performing for an audience whose expectations are always inflating.
That's a great way to put it.
But the stealth wealth mindset completely discards that loop. It asks a much more grounding question. It asks, how much time, flexibility, and insulation from disaster does this asset buy me?
Trading the fleeting high of social validation for a permanent low-stress environment.
Exactly. A real financial safety net.
But I mean, if we know the Hollywood set is stressful, and we know the brick fortress is secure, how do so many highly intelligent, high-earning people end up trapped behind the plywood?
It's a great question.
It seems to happen the very moment they get a little extra money, right?
That is the exact friction point the source material addresses next. It introduces the principle of decoupling your income from your consumption.
Okay, decoupling.
Yeah, because for most people, those two metrics are permanently chained together through a phenomenon known as lifestyle creep.
Right, lifestyle creep. We all know the basic definition. You get a raise, you buy a nicer car.
Yeah.
But For you listening, the nuance here is much more insidious than just wanting nicer things. We aren't just making conscious choices to upgrade. We are fighting an entire ecosystem designed to consume our extra income.
The algorithms.
Yes. The moment your LinkedIn profile updates with a new title, algorithms start feeding you targeted ads for luxury washes or upgraded vacations. The friction to spend that new raise is absolutely zero.
Well, and it goes even deeper than the algorithms, actually. It's physiological.
Wait, physiological?
Yeah, the source text points out that earning that promotion usually requires significant sacrifice. You know, you are working 60-hour weeks, your cortisol levels, your stress hormones, they are constantly elevated.
Oh, sure.
So when you finally get the raise, your brain demands a chemical offset. It wants dopamine.
Which brings up a very real dilemma. If you're pulling those 60-hour weeks and you're burning out and you finally secure that bump in pay,
Yeah.
I mean, not upgrading your life feels incredibly bleak.
Yeah.
What are you actually working for if you're just going to keep driving the same 15-year-old car and living in the same cramped apartment?
It feels like a punishment.
Yeah, it sounds like you're just hoarding numbers on a screen.
Right.
Shouldn't you enjoy the fruits of your labor?
It's a completely rational pushback. I mean, if wealth is just a high score on a bank app that you never touch, it's useless.
Right.
But the text argues that increasing your spending to match your new salary isn't actually a reward, it's a trap.
A trap. Okay, how so?
Because if you get a 20% raise and immediately increase your lifestyle overhead by 20%, you haven't improved your financial independence one bit.
Oh, wow.
You have the exact same vulnerability you had before, just at a higher tax bracket.
You're just raising the baseline of what it takes for you to survive.
Exactly.
You're making those stressful 60-hour work weeks mandatory forever.
Yeah.
Because now you have a luxury car lease and a massive mortgage to feed.
Precisely.
Yep.
You traded the effort it took to get the promotion for depreciating assets. Let's look at the underlying financial mechanism of that luxury car.
Okay.
You buy a $100,000 vehicle to reward yourself. The moment you drive it off the lot, the depreciation curve strips away 20% of its value.
Poof. Gone.
Gone. That is $20,000 of your raw, hard-earned labor, literally hours of your life vaporized into thin air, just for the feeling of sitting in new leather.
That is painfully put.
The stealth wealth approach isn't about denying yourself joy. It's about recognizing that widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only way to genuinely escape the treadmill.
So if raising your survival baseline makes the treadmill mandatory, then what are we actually trying to buy when we finally get ahead?
Well, the source material is very clear on this. You are purchasing buying power and time, not status. The fundamental flaw in the looking rich mindset is what it values. Money spent on luxury goods buys temporary status, which has an incredibly short half-life.
Yeah, it fades fast.
But money that is retained and invested buys compound interest, passive income, and, the ultimate luxury, autonomy.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this completely reframes our basic understanding of money.
It really does.
Most of us are conditioned to view money as a carnival ticket. You grind at your job, you earn a stack of tickets, and then you immediately run to the prize counter to trade them in for a giant stuffed bear.
A giant depreciating stuffed bear.
Exactly. But these notes argue that money shouldn't be viewed as a ticket at all. It should be viewed as a battery.
A battery storing your spent labor.
Yes. You put your time, your physical energy, and your intellect into your job. In exchange, they hand you a physical battery holding that exact amount of your spent energy.
Right.
If you blow it on a status symbol, a shiny toy, the battery just drains. But if you keep it, every dollar is an hour of your future that you just bought back.
That's a great way to visualize it.
You are literally storing up future Tuesday afternoons, future weekends, future years, where you simply don't have to work if you don't want to.
But we have to take that metaphor one step further, because batteries naturally degrade over time if they just sit on a shelf.
Oh, right, inflation.
Exactly. In the financial world, that leakage is inflation. If you just hoard the money in a checking account, the purchasing power slowly bleeds out.
Which is why the stealth wealth philosophy demands a high investment rate. You don't just hold the battery. You plug it into a solar panel.
Perfect analogy.
You put it into appreciating assets, index funds, real estate, businesses, so that it generates its own charge.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, when you establish that kind of compounding system, it completely changes your orientation to the world. Society teaches us to purchase applause.
Applause, right.
But true wealth is about purchasing autonomy. Autonomy doesn't demand an audience. It doesn't care what the neighbors think of your driveway.
It really doesn't.
It just quietly gives you the power to dictate the terms of your own existence. It buys you the ability to walk away from a toxic boss or take a year off to care for a sick family member without breaking a sweat.
It's the ultimate defense mechanism.
Absolutely.
But speaking of defense, the notes you shared highlight a very practical, almost tactical reason to avoid buying applause. Becoming highly visible actually degrades your autonomy.
This is where the source text gets very pragmatic about human behavior and the concept of target status.
Target status.
Yes. Displaying obvious wealth creates a massive amount of unintended social friction. The flashier your outward indicators of success, the more you invite predatory attention and alter the dynamics of your personal relationships.
The social friction aspect is fascinating to me. It's not just about strangers. It changes how your peers interact with you.
Oh, completely.
When you drive up in the exotic car and wear the incredibly expensive watch, it creates these subtle shifts. People suddenly assume you're going to pick up the check at dinner every single time.
Or acquaintances start viewing you as a potential angel investor for their terrible business ideas.
Yeah. Or worse, if you complain about a bad day, your friends quietly think, well, you can't complain, you have a Porsche. It alienates you.
It creates a distorting lens. Every interaction is suddenly filtered through the reality of your money. The text argues that living below your means and avoiding obvious luxury brands drastically lowers these privacy risks.
But practically speaking, how far do we take this?
What do you mean?
Well, if the goal is to lower our profile, do we have to deliberately perform poverty? Like, should we be driving rusted-out clunkers and wearing thrift store clothes just to ensure our distant cousins don't hit us up for a loan?
No.
Because that sounds like its own kind of miserable performance.
It would be, but that is a crucial distinction. Stealth wealth is not about feigning poverty or adopting a lifestyle of performative misery.
Okay.
You don't have to suffer to be stealthy. It's simply about removing the neon sign from above your head. It's the art of blending in.
Blending in?
Yeah, when you drive a modest, reliable car, even a very nice late model but unassuming car, and live in a well-maintained but normal house, you move through the world without friction.
You're invisible.
Exactly. You get to interact with people genuinely because they're reacting to your personality, not your net worth.
You aren't managing people's reactions to your money.
Exactly.
But this brings us to a major pivot in the notes. If we aren't buying status symbols, and we aren't pretending to be broke, where is the money actually going?
Right.
What is the point of building the underground brick fortress if you can't enjoy the safety it provides?
This leads directly into the principle of value-based spending. The source material is very careful to draw a hard line between stealth wealth and extreme frugality.
Right. This isn't about reusing paper towels or refusing to turn on the heat in January to save $40.
Definitely not.
Or clipping coupons until your fingers bleed.
Not at all. Extreme frugality is often driven by a scarcity mindset, a real fear of running out of money.
Yeah.
Stealth wealth is driven by an abundance mindset, but with ruthless prioritization. A stealth wealth practitioner actually spends quite generously.
Generously.
Yes, the distinction lies entirely in the mechanics of what they are spending on. The text points to heavy spending in areas like personal health, rich experiences, high-quality food, and time-saving services.
The unbreakable rule, according to the notes, is spending zero effort on superficial status indicators.
Yes.
So what does this all mean? It makes the philosophy so incredibly personalized. It gives you permission to spend heavily, as long as the spending improves your actual factual reality.
It's the difference between a private benefit and a public reaction.
Exactly. You can drop an exorbitant amount of money on a top-tier custom mattress because you sleep on it for 8 hours every single night.
And it improves your life.
Drastically. It improves your spinal health and your daily energy. That is a massive private benefit. Or you can spend heavily to take an immersive month-long family vacation to Japan because it creates lifelong memories and broadens your worldview.
Right, but what you skip is buying the $5,000 designer suitcase just to carry your clothes on the trip.
Yes, the suitcase doesn't improve the trip. Its only function is to generate a public reaction from strangers at the airport.
You are maximizing the internal yield of your money while completely ignoring the external optics. Knowledge and wealth is most valuable when it is properly applied to genuine well-being.
Well-being, exactly.
When you buy the logo, you are outsourcing your self-esteem to a brand. You are paying a premium just so a corporation will vouch for your success. Stealth wealth is the realization that you don't need anyone to vouch for you.
It is incredibly freeing to realize you can just opt out of the status game entirely. You just don't have to play.
And this targeted, highly private way of interacting with money, it perfectly illustrates the concluding thought in your notes.
The quote.
Yes, it's a famous quote that fundamentally redefines the very word wealth. It requires a complete mental shift to grasp.
Oh, this quote absolutely blew my mind. It's from Morgan House's book, The Psychology of Money. Let me read the exact phrasing from the source text because it is brilliant.
Go for it.
It says, "Wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, the watch is not worn. Wealth is an option not yet exercised to buy something later."
This raises an important question, though. What does an option not yet exercised actually mean? Let's look at the underlying physics of that statement.
Physics.
Yes. Think about it in terms of potential versus kinetic energy.
Okay.
Before you drop a massive boulder off the edge of a cliff, it holds an enormous amount of potential energy. It has the capacity to do work, to create an impact.
Right, it's just sitting there, loaded.
But the moment you push it over the edge, that energy becomes kinetic. It's being spent in real time.
Yeah.
Once it hits the bottom, the energy is completely gone, dissipated into the ground. All you have left is a rock sitting in the dirt.
So the unspent money is the boulder resting at the top of the cliff.
Precisely. The moment you buy the diamond, you no longer have the wealth. You have exercised the option.
The boulder fell.
The boulder fell. The potential energy is gone, and all you have left is a shiny piece of compressed carbon. Wealth, true wealth, is the restraint required to keep the energy stored as potential. It's the invisible accumulation of choices you didn't make.
Wow. Like we were saying at the very beginning of this deep dive, we are so heavily conditioned to look at someone driving a brand new Ferrari down the street and think, wow, look at that wealth.
Yeah.
But Housel is literally telling us that the Ferrari is mathematical proof that they have $250,000 less wealth than they did before they signed the paperwork.
It's proof of spent wealth.
The unpurchased Ferrari is the actual wealth.
It's the discipline of holding the power without feeling the desperate need to display it.
Yeah.
That restraint is what actually builds the underground brick fortress.
Which really brings us full circle. You brought us these notes to explore the invisible architecture of true wealth, and it has been a total dismantling of how we are taught to operate.
A total teardown.
We started by looking at that fake Hollywood street, exposing how the high-stress plywood illusion of looking rich is held up by anxiety and social performance.
And then we examined the physiological and financial trap of lifestyle creep, where raising your baseline consumption just forces you to run faster on the same treadmill.
Right.
And we contrasted that with the mechanics of decoupling your income from your lifestyle.
We learned to view our money not as a ticket for status, but as a battery to store our spent time and buy back our future autonomy.
Which is huge.
And we discussed the defensive power of avoiding target status. Moving through the world without the neon sign of flashy assets, avoiding the social friction that comes with visibility.
And most importantly, we learned that true wealth doesn't mean extreme frugality. You can spend generously and live a deeply rich life, provided you are funding private, value-based realities instead of public, superficial reactions.
It is a profound paradigm shift. It demands that you stop seeking validation from the outside world and start finding deep security in the invisible options you hold in reserve. And before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one final lingering concept to mull over on your own. It builds right on Morgan Housel's idea of wealth being an unexercised option, something completely invisible to the naked eye.
Okay.
If true wealth is completely unseen, what happens to our identity when we strip away all the brands, the logos, and the status symbols we normally use to tell the world who we are?
Oh, that's heavy.
Right. If you follow this philosophy and you deliberately choose not to show anyone your success on that flashy, tangible street,
Yeah.
how do you define your own worth when you look in the mirror?
When you strip away the applause, you're left with exactly who you really are.
Keep reflecting on that. Keep challenging those illusions, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.